UFC Fight Night Gilbert Burns versus Michael Morales takes place this weekend. I'll be doing my full card breakdown and predictions of every fight, starting with the early prelims, making it up to the main event. I don't even know if I'm going to make it to the main event because I'll be sleeping talking about these fucking prelim fights. To start off the card, we have Tisha the Tiny Tornado Pennington taking on Luana Pinheiro. Tisha is the wife of former champion Raquel Pennington, but Tisha herself, she's 35 years old, however, 14-7 overall, 10-7 in the UFC. She's actually pretty good, however, she's really fast, very fast actually. She is short, however, she's got good boxing, not very good on the grappling front, however, she can defend herself on the ground. Her losses in the UFC are to good people, especially back in the day. And I just can't really see her losing to someone like Luana Pinheiro. Luana Pinheiro is 3-3 in the promotion. She's on a 3-fight losing streak, losing to Jillian Robertson and Amanda Ribas. Again, it's good competition, but it's just like, overall, she's just not very good. Tisha should just be able to out-volume her everywhere. If it goes down to the ground, it'll probably be Luana taking it there. But she hasn't done much wrestling in her UFC career, so it shouldn't be too much of a competitive fight here. I think Luana probably has one round in her. She did have a crazy knockout on the Dana White Contender Series, but again, that's probably like 2 to 4 years ago at this point. So yeah, I'm taking Tisha Pennington to win this fight by decision. Moving on to our next fight, we have Hung Seung Park, Peace of Mind, taking on Carlos Hernandez. Hung Seung Park is 9-0 overall, 1-0 in the UFC. He's a road to UFC guy. He finished all of his fights inside the distance. However, he was dropped in 2 out of 3 of them. And he had a really weird fight in his, or a weirdly close fight in his UFC debut with Shannon Ross. Again, like, Hung Seung Park did end up knocking him out in the second round, but like the strikes were 50-47, and Shannon Ross is a guy that was 0-4 in the UFC and lost all his fights by KO. So like if we're having like competitive fights with that guy, it's just like it's not great. I think that, however, Peace of Mind can find Hernandez's chin, and if he does, and if he was to win, in my opinion, it would probably be inside the distance. Carlos Hernandez on the other side, is 10-4 overall. He's 3-3 in the UFC, and he's 32 years old. He does take damage, however, but will look to mix in takedowns. Park has never been taken down in the UFC or road to UFC, so like it'll be a question of can he get it to the ground. I do think he will be able to get him to the ground either eventually or early. The question is, do I think that he'll really be able to do much? And I originally was thinking that I think that Hernandez can get these takedowns. I think that he can mix in the grappling well and end up winning a decision as a decent underdog here. But I think I'm actually kind of going to switch sides here with the road to UFC, the undefeated guy, who both things usually do not score a check mark for my picks. But I mean, I'm going to take the younger guy, more potential in the UFC to actually find the chin on this one and win by knockout. So Hung Seung Park to go to 10-0 and win by knockout. Probably I'll go second round. On to our next fight, back to women's MMA. An absolute banger in Elise Reed, I'm just kidding, versus Denise Gomes. Denise Gomes is just going to fucking shit on her. She's going to treat her like a punching bag and probably knock her out. Elise Reed, 4-4 in the promotion. She's win 1, lost 1 her whole career. I don't even know how she has 4 wins in the UFC. All 4 of her losses come by finish, and her wins are just terrible. I think Elise somehow has to mix in every single one of the mixed martial arts to beat Denise, and Gomes has to gas out, and Elise has to take over in the second, third to win a decision. It's just too unlikely. Gomes 4-1 in her last 5. Her only loss in there to Angela Hill, where Angela was getting takedowns like there was no tomorrow. Denise versus Luke Boomy, she lost where she was controlled and gave up 4 takedowns there. So her only 2 losses come by decent girls, but like the thing is she is getting taken down in these fights. But Gomes has fucking nukes in her hands, man. She has a 20-second KO over Yasmin Uregi. And also did have back-to-back knockouts over Bruna Brazil as well in there. I just think that she's much better than Elise Reed overall, and I won't be surprised if she finds the button and might even be early. Give me Denise Gomes to win this one by round 1, round 2 KO. On to our next fight, we have my boy Connor the Controller Matthews taking on Yadier Del Val. Matthews is 7-3 overall. He's 0-2 in the promotion. He hasn't had much success yet. He has been finishing both of his fights. His last fight being to a vicious prospect, Jose Delgado, who is one to fucking watch out for. And before then, he was knocked out in the 3rd round by Dennis Bazooka. Matthews has solid boxing. He's got good wrestling, and he's got actual power in his hands. His path to victory, in my opinion, is similar to his Dana White Contender Series win, his second fight, where he mixed everything up against the undefeated guy. I think it was like Yars Farron or some weird shit like that. He was a 10-0 fighting nerd. He probably wasn't supposed to win that fight, but Matthews just got grimy with it, slugged it out with him, traded in the pocket, mixed in the takedowns well, and ended up winning himself a decision to get to the promotion. And I think that he needs this type of performance to, one, keep his job here, and it's got to be now or never. He's getting up there in age, 0-2 in the UFC. The UFC's been harsh with how they do cuts recently, so I mean, I think we got to prove ourselves here, especially against someone like 28-year-old 8-0 Cuban Yadier Del Val making his UFC debut. Like it's tough, man. It's a tough debut. He has beat no one in the UFC, or no one in general. Like all his wins suck. Besides his Dana White Contender Series fight, he fought a decently experienced guy. Del Val has 4 finishes out of 8 fights. But with the odds and my boy, I find it hard to just see Del Val coming in there and just smoking Matthews. Like I just don't really see that. I think that if Del Val wins, it'll be by grimy, top-heavy decision. Maybe land some ground and pound, a couple of good shots on the feet. I'm going to say fuck it and give me Connor Matthews to win this fight by decision or KO. The guy's got fucking power. Yadier is unproven to me. Sure, the record looks good. The age looks good. Whatever. I don't give a fuck. Give me Connor Matthews to win this fight by decision or late KO. We move on. Wouldn't bet on that fight, by the way. There we go. Moving on to more WMMA. We have Luana Santos taking on Tainara Lisboa. Santos 25 years old compared to Lisboa's 34. Santos is 8-2 overall, 3-1 in the UFC. Lisboa 7-2, 2-0 in the UFC. Excuse me. Luana lost her last fight to Casey O'Neill, where she gassed out early, was just getting outclassed on the feet. She couldn't mix in her takedowns, and eventually Casey was even getting some takedowns of her own. Her wins in the UFC, however, are pretty shaky. Luana, she's 3-1, but her wins, her best one is Juliana Miller. I think she TKO'd her. It's just like not a good win. I mean, yeah, it's just Juliana Miller's fucking terrible. But Luana is very aggressive and does have solid submissions and a good grappling game if she can get it there. Tainara Lisboa, however, her wins in the UFC are terrible. Her last one was 2 years ago, her last fight over 2 years ago against Jessica Rose Clark. She got her by submission. I think that like a newborn baby could fucking submit Jessica Rose Clark. That chick actually fucking reeks ass on the ground, a complete white belt. And Tainara's other win is Ravenna Oliveira, who I believe is 0-2 in the UFC. When it comes to the feet, this is probably a pretty close fight, but I think the ground game will probably be much better. Much better for Santos. And Lisboa being 9 years older, it's just like it's kind of hard to pick her in this fight. Santos is coming off the longest layoff of her career, being 9 months. But again, she's 25. She's coming off the loss. She can take that time to develop and like really work on the stuff that she needs to. Lisboa, why are you taking 2.5 years off when you're only 2-0 in the UFC and 34 years old? It's just weird to me. There's a world where Lisboa wins, but it's just like I think that there could be some serious ring rust here. The age is going to show. Luan has got to be the faster fighter in this scenario, so give me Luana Santos to win this fight by submission or decision. We move on. An actual good fight. Jared Gordon taking on Thiago Moises. Jared Flash Gordon, he's 36 compared to Moises is 30. Jared's 27-1 no contest, 8-6-1 no contest in the UFC. Jared's very solid fighter overall. He lost his last fight to Nasrat Haqparast by split decision, where both guys landed over 140 significant strikes. Before then, Jared won by round 1 KO over Marco Madsen. And it was just 2.5 years ago where Jared had that win over Paddy Pimblett. He won 30-27, 29-28. I don't care. He ended up getting robbed, but I mean, again, that's not even 3 years ago where that happened. The thing with Jared is it's hard to do stuff with him on the ground. Like his losses and his takedown defense is only 60% sure, but it's overlooked by Grant Dawson having 7 and Joe Selecki with 4. Jared Gordon's only submission loss comes to Grant Dawson late in the 3rd round, where it was just a fucking grimy pace. That's something that Thiago Moises I don't think is capable of putting on Gordon. I don't think that Moises is going to be really able to implement the grappling as much as people think. He might be able to get him down a couple times. I don't think he's going to be able to do much there. Moises, although he's a younger guy, 19-8, he's also 8-6 in the UFC. He's a good fighter, but he's shown some cracks recently with his chin and his cardio. His last 2 wins are like iffy at best. Like the Trey Ogden fight, he was getting teed up on in the 1st round. He came back and won. And then I believe he finished Mitch Ramirez. But again, it's Mitch Ramirez, with all due respect. Has anyone really heard of that guy? Not much. Moises has good submissions and good leg kicks. Really strong leg kick. But it was like 2 fights ago where the guy was getting mopped across the floor by Ludovic Klein. Like, I know how good Ludovic Klein is, but again, like, it's like, he's been cracking. It's not like he's got this unfinishable chin and it's like, whatever. Moises is very finishable and can fade, and I think that if he gets it down, like I said, it won't be enough. So I'm actually taking Jared Gordon to win this fight, probably by decision, but there is a chance that he gets an early KO, in my opinion. Moving on to Gabe Green taking on Mateus Camilo. Gabe Green is 32 compared to Mateus' 24. Green's 11-5 overall, 2-3 in the UFC, and he hasn't won a UFC fight in over 3 years. Where he beat Johan Lioness in a war, and Lioness dropped him. Johan's a fucking... I'm not going to say that. He's not very good. He's been dropped in his last 3 fights, Gabe Green. Although against good competition, Ian Gary, Daniel Rodriguez, and Brian Battle, he just hasn't shown much for me. He was finished by Brian Battle in 10 seconds. I think it was 14, actually. But, like, I'm not even lying when I say that it was that quick. His game plan in that fight, he ran at Brian Battle, pushed him against the cage, and just started fucking slugging. Both guys, to be honest. Gabe Green gets hit with the right hook, sleeps. Mateus Camilo, on the other hand, is an interesting story. If you remember that Tajikistan native, the 9-0 guy, his name was like, oh god, I'm not going to be able to pronounce it, Doroshov whatever, fucking something. He was the guy that at the one Dana White Contender Series or whatever press conference yelled at Dana saying like, Dana, I'm 9-0 fighter 155 from Tajikistan, sign me to UFC. And Dana's like, fuck it, come up here, kid. And he ends up fighting on Dana White looking for a fight, which is like a little side boonies fucking thing that they're doing. And that guy fought Mateus Camilo and kind of spoiled this whole guy's like hype and whatever. Because Camilo looked great and ended up winning a decision in that fight. Camilo's very young, however. He's actually shorter than Gabe Green. Gabe Green's usually a 170. He's coming down to this fight at 155, and he's never had a matchup in the UFC where he's been the bigger guy, so this will be his first time. However, I kind of just want to take a little shot on the unknown factor of Mateus Camilo. I like a young fucking Brazilian here to potentially find a knockout. I mean, Camilo now in the UFC. Both of his losses come by submission, which were over 3 years ago. Gabe Green's not going to submit you. And I think that he's going to outland Gabe Green and probably find a decision. Gabe Green's just not fucking great, right? He's not a world beater. And yeah, the UFC is due for some new good lightweights. So yeah, I'll give me Mateus Camilo to win this one by decision. Moving on to Juicy Julian J. Arosa taking on Melquizi Costa. Julian Arosa 35 compared to Melk's 28 years, so 7-year age difference. Julian is 9-7 in the UFC compared to Melky's 4-2. Julian on a 3-fight win streak, all by finish in the first round, 2 by submission, 1 by KO. His last fight being over Darren Elkins, where Julian landed a nice up kick, rocked Elkins, and Elkins' age and damage through the years really showed in this fight. The guy looked fucking punch drunk. He looked like Justin Gaethje times fucking 10. Just getting mopped across the floor by Julian Arosa. Like, it's just like, what the fuck? But the thing is, Julian Arosa looked fucking terrible as well. The takedowns that Elkins was getting on Arosa, it was like the most sorry shit ever. I don't even know how he managed to take him down. Yeah, sure, he ended up scrambling out of it or whatever, but it's like, fuck, someone like Melk who has like good takedowns, good top pressure, good ground and pound, like that's kind of dangerous for Julian being 35 as well. Like, another thing with Julian, I think like 6 of his 7 UFC losses come by fucking KO. The guy's getting chinned all the time. I have here in my notes that Julian Arosa in his last fight looked like he was fighting underwater. And since he's fighting so active, I found that very weird. Both guys in the last 2 fights have beat Christian Rodriguez. Arosa finished him, however, with a guillotine in the first round. Strike for strike, however, I think that Melquizi is much better than Julian Arosa. However, when it goes to the ground, I would favor Julian Arosa in terms of jiu-jitsu. But, like, I personally think that Melk's going to find the chin early and probably knock him out. He's just going to be so much faster, and even though Arosa rocked Elkins like bad and had him punch struck, he was getting teed up on a little bit by Elkins, like randomly. The odd right hook would land and shake him up a little bit. I see him going down and not getting back up against Melk, so give me Melk to win this one by knockout. Moving on to Dustin Stoltzfus taking on Nursultan Black Ruzaboyev. Stoltzfus 33 compared to Nursultan's 31. However, Nursultan's got 35 wins, 9 losses, 2 draws, and 2 no contests. He's 3-1 in the UFC. Stoltzfus 16-6 overall, 3-5 in the UFC. He just brutally knocked out Marc-Andre Barriault in the first round. Like bad. It was actually fucked. Very interesting finish for Dustin Stoltzfus. Before then, he was finished by Bruno Ferreira with that disgusting spinning back fist. Stoltzfus has good wrestling. He's got legit submissions. He submitted Puniali Soriano. However, getting in there with a little bit of age now, and again, like the guy's 3-5 in the UFC. He was finishing his UFC debut in 19 seconds by Abus Magomedov by a fucking front kick. It's just hard for me to pick Dustin Stoltzfus. I actually had him to win by knockout against Marc-Andre Barriault at like plus 800 or something. Just can't do it in this fight. Nursultan, the guy's 6'5" at 185 and flushing down to 170 to fight Buckley. His only loss in the UFC is to Joaquin Buckley at 170. Ruzaboyev back at 185. He's a fucking killer. I think that he knocks out Stoltzfus in round 1 or 2. He's finished all of his UFC wins. He's got good ground game. He's got good striking. And like I said, the guy's fucking huge. Massive head. I don't think you're finishing the guy. And if you're not finishing Nursultan, do I think that Stoltzfus can out-decision Nursultan? I personally don't. So Nursultan moneyline is the bet, but Nursultan by knockout will be the pick. Moving on to a lightweight fight. Both guys moving from featherweight to lightweight. We have Myron Santos taking on Sadiq Youssef. Santos is 24 compared to Sadiq's 31. Santos 15-1 overall to 13-4 and 2-0 in the UFC compared to Sadiq 6-3. Myron's an Ultimate Fighter winner with his brutal knockout over Con Offley. But his second fight versus Francis Marshall, he was dropped bad in the first round. He had to recover. He ends up winning a very controversial decision. However, the kid showed really good IQ. He showed really nice power. He actually rocked Marshall in the third round. The thing with Myron that could be his downfall in this fight is just he's so technical. He's so sharp with his shots and calculated that he doesn't like throwing the that like dangerous, that risky type of punch. You know what I mean? That one that might get you hurt a little bit. He's too focused on that technical game, and sometimes he just gets out volume. That's what was happening a lot in that Marshall fight. And that's something that Sadiq Youssef is very capable of. Youssef has very solid leg kicks. He's a good fighter, and again, however, it has been 3 years since the guy's won in the UFC. He was knocked out in 1 minute in his last fight by Diego Lopez with a gross uppercut. And before then, he lost a decision to Edson Barbosa in a 5-round fight where that was the one where he got fucking spinning wheel kick, chicken dance in the third round, I think. That chin wasn't holding up at featherweight, so I think this is why Sadiq's moving up to lightweight. Both guys, however, are pretty small for the division. They're 5'9". I think Sadiq can win this fight if he mixes in the grappling well, sticks to his leg kick, and starts like just out-voluming him and taking those extra risks. But I am going to have to side with the younger guy, Myron Santos. I think that he's going to be a little bit more experienced now. He took that kind of, oh shit, we're in the UFC now, legit level fighter, Francis Marshall. And you have someone who, like, people know Sadiq Youssef. He was a stamp at 145 for a second. He was on a cruise, wins over Alex Caceres, Andre Fili, and a loss in between there to Arnold Allen in a close fight where he outstruck Allen by like 25 significant strikes. It's just he got dropped in that fight. Myron Santos is capable of big power. There is a world where Santos does find his chin. I think it'll be in the second or third round. However, I will take Santos to win this fight by decision. But if Santos wins by knockout, it's going to be fucking brutal. So we'll be back for that one if that happens. Moving on to our co-main event, we have Rodolfo Bellato taking on Paul Bearju Craig. Bellato 29 to Craig's 37. Bellato's 1 win, 0 losses, 1 draw in the UFC, compared to Paul Craig, who's 9-9 and 1 draw. Bellato had a draw in his last fight versus Jimmy Crute, where Crute had him in all sorts of trouble in the first round on the feet. But again, Paul Craig is no threat on the feet. That's not going to be happening here. And the thing with Bellato is he rallied back. He worked for that draw. He earned that draw against Jimmy Crute. And in his win in the UFC versus Ihor Potieria, again, not a great competition, but Ihor, I personally think that Ihor could have had a much better UFC record. He got cheated out a lot with eye pokes and bullshit. The guy's cardio is just dog shit. And in that first round, Ihor drops Bellato, does all sorts of bad things to him, and then Ihor gasses out, and Bellato's heart takes over his chin. Determination, and just ends up finding, I think it was a round 2 TKO. Or it might have been late in the first round. He might have completely switched the tables in the first round. But anywho, Bellato's big. He's the same height as of Paul Craig at 6'3". I just think that he's gonna box the shit out of Paul Craig. The fight probably won't go to the mat. I don't think Craig's gonna get him to the ground, and I don't think Bellato's gonna be stupid enough to take someone like Paul Craig down, because you have shit where Paul Craig's 9-9 in the UFC, but 2 of his wins are by finish over Magomed Ankalaev, his only loss, and fucking Jamal Hill when he was undefeated. He submitted both of those guys. You don't want to fucking play games with Paul Craig, especially on the fucking, or you don't want to play games with Paul Craig on the ground. On the feet, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Paul Craig's lost his last 3 fights, being by fucking decision, where he just got outstruck by Bo Nickel. We just saw Rainier de Ritter beat the fucking shit out of Bo Nickel. Bo Nickel's beating the shit out of Paul Craig with overhands. It's the only thing he threw in that fight. Before then, Craig was finished brutally by Kyle Bohalio. And before then, he was subbed by Brennan Allen. I don't think Paul will be able to get this one to the mat. I think he gets destroyed on the feet. Maybe some clinch control against the cage for Bellato, but overall I think that he's going to fucking knock him out. Rodolfo Bellato by knockout is the pick. And I just think that Paul Craig should retire. He's back up at 205 now after a failed 185 mission. It's just not good signs. 37 years old. Hang him up. 37, we go to 38-year-old Gilbert Burns in our main event versus Michael Morales, 25 years old. Burns 15-8 in the UFC. Morales 5-0. Burns is on a 3-fight skid to Sean Brady, Jack Della Maddalena, and Bilal Muhammad. So that's a former champion, the champion, and a number 1 contender. Gilbert has fought dogs in his last 3 fights, and he looked better against Jack Della than Bilal did, in my opinion. Like, in terms of how he was getting takedowns, yeah, you can say that Jack had that broken arm, but guy had 5 minutes of control time, 7 takedowns, take it as you will. However, he's just so much older than Michael Morales in this fight and gives up so much height and reach. I just don't think that Burns is going to be able to do too much. He's got a right overhand that might land like once through the fight that'll make you go, ooh, but like, are we really going to be out-piecing Michael Morales on the feet? I don't think so at all. Morales' last fight, he KO'd Neil Magny silly. It was an easy round 1 KO. He chewed up the legs, got him out of there. But the thing that I like about that is he's clearly a smart fighter watching take back on what Ian Gary was doing to Magny and chirping out the legs because he fucking was spamming it. Before that, he beat Jake Matthews, he beat Max Griffin, caged Trevin Giles. The guy Michael Morales is very skilled and he's so long for the division with almost an 80-inch reach. I just think that Michael Morales' takedown defense is going to hold up here. He maybe will suffer a couple, but I just don't see Burns consistently getting enough takedowns, being able to hold Morales for the majority of the fight, let alone like finding a submission or something like that. And I actually don't think that Gilbert Burns at 38 is going to be able to take the heat coming back at him by Michael Morales for 25 minutes. The guy's going to be hungry to fucking knock out Gilbert Burns because that's like a oh shit, you knocked out Gilbert Burns type of thing. Like Jack Della Maddalena just knocked out Gilbert Burns and that guy's now the champion. So I mean, like, it's a big thing if you can do that. And I actually do think that the 25-year-old Ecuadorian is going to be able to fucking do it. So give me Michael Morales to win this one by round 3 KO. I think it'll be a 1-2, stumbles Burns against the cage, and maybe like a fucking flying knee to the shadow realm to send Gilbert to fucking retirement, sadly. So yeah, Michael Morales by KO is my official pick, and that'll do it for UFC Vegas, whatever the fuck this is. Yeah, appreciate it if you watch the whole video, and I'll see you next week. Lots of interviews. Peace.